So, hi, I'm Jack. You guys probably know that already. So, I'm the oldest of what?
I'm gonna have you speak right into this.
Got it.
Okay.
Alright. I'm the oldest of 2 boys in my family. Like all teenage boys, I sometimes get annoyed by their parents. Yeah, that happens a lot. But I still love them. But I'm also very different from other teenage boys. I was supposed to be born in November of 2005, but I was born 12 weeks before that in September instead. Being born premature creates lots of different problems for different people. Many premature babies don't make it out of the hospital. Many can't function or speak. Many have tons of surgeries and procedures to help them live. For me, it resulted in cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy, or CP for short, is caused by damage to the developing brain that usually affects movement, muscle tone, and posture. A lot of people with CP use wheelchairs because they can't walk. Others have a hard time talking. It can affect everyone differently. The doctors were worried that I wouldn't be able to walk, and if I did, it would be with a walker. I don't know how to move that real quick.
Here, give me the paper.
My papa likes to call me his miracle boy. I'm not sure if that's true, but I am walking and even running. You guys can clap if you want. I could talk, obviously. I mean, I'm here. I'm not just sitting here. But it doesn't mean that things are easy for me. I don't run or walk like other kids. They are much faster than me. My leg muscles are very tight, and my feet, ankles, and legs. So my feet, ankles, and legs aren't the best, and I've had to wear different leg and foot braces throughout my life. I've had a hard time with fine motor skills as well. Easy things that others take for granted are challenging for me, such as tying my shoes, writing, brushing my teeth, and combing my hair, just to name a few. It's not always easy for my family to have to help me with all these things, but we manage. I've also been blessed with therapists. I've also been blessed with family, friends, and therapists who are willing, caring, and patient to help me along the way. I don't know what would have happened if my family and all them weren't patient. They'd probably just like to do something. And I know that they'll always be there for me, no matter what, and will be there to help me get back up if and when I fall. I first realized I was different around the 3rd grade when I went to Anthem School. We would warm up for PE by playing tag before moving on to whatever coach had planned for that day. We were playing tag in the gym and a kid tagged me out, so I moved on to some other exercises. As I was watching the other kids play, as I was doing some mountain climbers and watching the other kids play, I realized they were all much faster than me. It was kind of like when Peter Parker starts walking on walls and realizes he's Spider-Man. I realized in that moment that I am different. I was a little sad at that because I didn't ask to be different. I wanted to fit in and be like all the other kids, but I wasn't going to let that define me. So I moved on and decided to not let it bother me. Because of my CP, I started therapy pretty early in my life. Pretty much as soon as I got home from the hospital, I've had therapy. So I've never known life without therapy in it. I've been receiving 2 types of therapy from UCP since I was about 3 years old: occupational therapy and physical therapy. I've worked with a lot of different therapists throughout my life. Many of them have become like family to me. Not to the point where I call any of my therapists mom, but it's like it. One of my first therapists at UCP was Valerie Piericini. She's there. If you want to ask her what happened, she's got it all down.
I already told on you, Jack.
I know you're keeping your record straight. first started with Valerie, I was nervous because I had just come from a therapist that I didn't like. That's a story for another time now. Valerie saw this and she knew that I was a huge Star Wars fan. So pretty much anything we did in a room was a Star Wars theme. Now that I think about it, they have these sliding doors. I considered that like kind of the docking bay, like the waiting area. This made me feel safe and comfortable and made therapy fun. One of the long-time goals I had with Valerie was learning to write better, because that's been a struggle for me. She started by drawing a happy face on 3 of my fingers and calling them my team so that I would know which fingers were involved in the proper pencil grasp. It was hard to learn, but I eventually got the hang of it. I remember her pretending to be a Jedi Master, and I was her Padawan. She would go and she would throw a marker across the room, and I would go grab it, and she would inspect my grip and say, "Done, where do you have Padawan?" You guys can judge my Yoda impression later. I don't know if Valerie did a Yoda voice, but I hope she did. Along with Valerie, several UCP therapists worked with me for a long time to be able to use utensils better. It wasn't without challenges and frustrations, though. I love to eat. I'm a teenage boy after all, but using utensils is just not easy for me. Some foods are especially challenging. One of these foods for me is green beans. Which is kind of a coincidence. One of these foods for me is green beans. I was eating dinner one night, and like all good parents, my parents served vegetables on the side. Tonight's vegetable, green beans. I tried stabbing them, but they wouldn't stay on the fork. I tried scooping them, but they just fell off. Finally, my frustration reached a boiling point, and I uttered the mother of all curse words of these beans. Effing green beans? I know you think a kid like me wouldn't say that, but I did. Unfortunately, I said the real F word there. It wasn't my proudest moment, and my mom grounded me for a week. But I was reminded that cursing at my situation or feeling sorry for myself wasn't going to make a difference. I had to just keep trying and working, and that was what would make the difference. One of my favorite and only physical therapists at UCP was Adelaide Holden. She really worked with me on motor planning and body awareness. Adelaide always believed in, yeah, I got food in my teeth. Abigail. Adelaide always believed in setting goals for things I was interested in doing in real life, like learning how to ride a scooter so that I could play outside with friends and neighbors and keep up with them. She knew that my family liked to hike, so she would set up obstacle courses to represent things I might trip over on a trail. 2 summers ago, I went on an 18-mile backpacking trip.
Wow.
My dad was there to help me through the literal highs and lows of hiking and carrying 25 pounds of gear on my back. It took us 3 days, and there were points where all the terrain would be flat, and there were pretty woods to look at. There were other times when we were walking in and out on narrow canyon trails with steep drops to one side, and if I tripped, I had a pretty good chance of falling down the canyon walls. There we go. In fact, only a few steps into the trip, I fell down. Fortunately, it wasn't in a canyon, but in some tall grass, so I didn't get hurt. But my dad and others were there to help me up. After the first day on the trail, my feet were really hurting. After sleeping and getting back on the trail the next day, my dad shared a scripture with me. Here's another thing that makes me different. I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We have some extra commandments that we follow called the Word of Wisdom. It teaches us not to smoke, drink alcohol, or take other things into our bodies that would harm them. When I was struggling on our hike, the scripture my dad quoted to me was the promise that the Lord gives for keeping the Word of Wisdom. It says, "All saints who remember to keep and do these sayings shall run and not be weary, and shall walk and not faint." I knew I was living the word of wisdom, and I knew that the Lord would keep his promise to me and help me to keep walking. I just had to keep going, and he did. I finished the hike without falling again, and my dad ran to the car like a maniac, gave me Gatorade. And I did. I finished the hike without falling again and still hike to this day. If you can imagine that hiking and walking is hard for me, then you think running would be harder. And you're right, running is hard. Adelaide was a huge supporter of me when I told her that I wanted to run on my school's cross-country team. She helped me prepare for cross-country by setting a goal to run on the treadmill for 10 minutes straight and then increase the time as I improved. She also helped me with better planning and thinking ahead of time where I should place my foot, as I would be running outside on uneven terrain. This really helped me to have the confidence that I needed to be able to do it, and I joined the team. I've been running on the team for 3 years now, and it hasn't always been easy. There was the bloody knee incident when my dad and I were running one morning. Ooh, that's a quiver. And I tripped on the uneven pavement and went down. My knee was bleeding pretty bad, so my dad helped me get to the park to get cleaned up and get home. I tripped several times during practice, and the other kids were always there to make sure I was okay and encouraged me to keep going. I even got lost one time running through our community park during a practice. And this is all just during practice. Oh shoot. Thankfully, my coach found me. I wasn't stuck in the park the whole time. Thankfully, my coach found me and helped me to find my way back. And this is all just during practice. There we go. As I mentioned earlier, I don't run like other kids, and I'm pretty slow. When race days came, I knew I wouldn't be one of the fastest. But if the tortoise beat the hare, then maybe I could win too. Well, I never did beat the hare, but I never quit. Even though other kids would walk when they were tired, I never did. I ran the whole time every race. Having my mom there cheering me on helped a lot as well. I've also realized that it helps to be accepting of myself and my differences. In the life skills class at UCP that I've been attending for about a year, I've learned skills and done things I wasn't sure I would be able to do. Folding clothes, cooking meals, and even some basic gardening are just a few things I've learned. Valerie was subbing for this class a few months ago, and some of the kids were not listening to her. And I asked her how she was able to put up with it. She told me that you just have to love people as they are. When she said that, I was reminded that also includes myself. I have to love me and be okay with my differences. Living with CP has taught me that everyone has challenges. I've had some challenges in my life, and I am sure I'll have plenty more. I want to serve a mission for my church, and many missionaries ride bikes. I don't. I'll have to figure that one out. I want to get married and have a family. I want to have a good job and provide for my family. These things might not be all that easy for me, and I don't know what life will bring me next, but I plan to make lemonade out of any lemons in my life and leave life wondering how I did it. From the immortal words of Spider-Man from Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. No matter how many times you get knocked down, can you get back up? I can and I will. Thank you.